Will Anthony Joshua's 100% record continue? I'm Teekosey, and this is with just 15 defeats. Welcome to With Just 15 Defeats, the home of the heavyweight preview on YouTube. I'm Teekosey, and today I'm going to be discussing Anthony Joshua versus Eric Molina for one of the heavyweight world titles. So if you've got any thoughts on this fight at all, what you need to do is you need to click on the comments section, hit me up with some interesting comments, and let's just start the debate. If you like the video, what you need to do is you need to click on the thumbs up, the like button, give me a bit of love, right? Also, remember to check out the channel, Teekosey Boxing. Hit the subscribe button, and you're going to find a whole host of videos. We've got a number of previews about some of the upcoming fights. Obviously, there's this one, which you're watching. We've got Dillian Whyte versus Derek Chisora. We've got Joseph Parker and Andy Ruiz Jr. Next week, we're going to be putting on the Stavern Povetkin preview, as well as I'm probably going to do Lucas Browne and Shannon Briggs, even though I don't believe that's been fully announced, but we'll just get that done when we got a bit of free time. On the channel, there's also a number of other interesting debates. I've put on the top 9 heavyweight boxers who I believe are the top 9 in the world right at this moment. I've also got a debate on whether Tyson Fury is finished. I've got a little bit on Conor McGregor versus Mayweather, just a bit of a fun one. Something on David Haye versus Tony Bellew, and also something about weight classes. So there's a little bit for everyone there, particularly if you're not too excited about Anthony Joshua versus Eric Molina. But anyway, let's just dive straight in to this battle. And to start with, let's just quickly give us a bit of a recap about Anthony Joshua, what we know about Anthony Joshua. Now, Anthony Joshua, 17-0, 100% knockout record, which on the face of it is pretty damn fantastic. He's a big guy, 6'6". He's got the whole Mr. Universe look. He's that typical modern super heavyweight. It brings power, accurate punching, and also an insane ability to close the show. Unfortunately, his movement has proved to be a bit of an issue. He can be slow in both his movement and his punching at times, and he can be a bit ponderous on his feet, and he really needs to settle his feet before unloading, which can hurt him. Well, it can limit what he can do, right? Now, some of the problems he's had have seemed to improve. Obviously, because most of his fights are so short, we never get to see a great deal of the improvements, okay? Now, he's got 2 fights. He's really got only 2 fights of any real note or interest, okay? And the first of them is against Dillian Whyte, which he realistically dominated, apart from one round where Whyte landed a punch that momentarily got everyone buzzing and put him in a bit of danger, and Whyte just wasn't able to basically finish him. And I think that one of the reasons why he wasn't able to finish him was the fact that he taken an absolute beating in round one. Now, the problem with what I've always said about this second round is that I think it comes to this. The reason why this happened was because of what happened at the end of the first round, where Wyatt kind of punched him after the bell, and everyone invaded the ring. And realistically, Wyatt could have and probably should have been disqualified. And the fact that everyone got in the ring, realistically, the fight should have been over. And what I believe happened was that Anthony Joshua, kind of the emotion of it all, the excitement, it got the better of him. And then in the second round, it really affected him, and Wyatt was able to capitalise on that. I think if that hadn't happened, if the round had just ended to its natural conclusion, they'd gone to the corners, and then they started the second round, I think Joshua's mindset would have been clearer, and I think we probably would have got an earlier stoppage than we got in that fight. Okay? Now, the second interesting fight, semi-interesting we'll say, for Joshua, is his defence of his world title against Dominic Breazeale. Now, again, this was one-sided, very, very one-sided. Breazeale showed himself to be a fairly tough operator in the fact that he lasted a number of rounds. He took quite a bit of punishment. His face was completely mangled by the time it was stopped. Now, the interesting thing about this fight as well has another interesting early bit of controversy. Now, I think this is round two. I could be wrong, but Joshua lands some bombs, and it looks like he's going to close the show. The ref jumps in. The referee jumps in between the two of them, stops Joshua landing any more shots, pauses for like 3 seconds, and then basically walks away and says, "Get on with it." Now, the fact is, if he hadn't have done that, I'm pretty 100% confident Joshua would have stopped him. And I think I said this in my kind of evaluation of that fight video at the time, that I feel that referees are quite nervous these days. Now, we've seen like some guys get seriously injured, and there's the whole fight should have been stopped earlier. And we've seen that Anthony Joshua has inflicted some serious damage on some of his opponents. He's retired some of them. He's just finished them. He's stopping all these guys. And I feel that any referee going into Anthony Joshua fight is nervous of the fact that they don't want it to go too far. That they just think that he's such a fearsome puncher that he's literally possibly going to end up basically causing some serious life issues for an opponent. And I think that's what happened. I think that it was on his mind, and the referee jumped in and kind of was like, should I stop it? He kind of briefly looked at Breazeale and thought, oh no, he's still okay at this precise moment, carry on. And I think that was a controversial moment, that fight. I think it probably would have been stopped about 15 seconds later had that not happened. So what we've really found is that Anthony Joshua is a serious finisher. He packs a lot of power, and if he can unload that, he's going to detonate. He's going to damage you. He's a serious finisher, right? So let's just move across from Anthony Joshua, because we know a lot about Anthony Joshua. Now, Eric Molina, right? What do we know about Eric Molina? He's 25-3. He's got 19 KOs. He's 6'4". All right. So when these two guys get in the ring, Anthony Joshua he's not only going to look physically more impressive, he's going to be slightly bigger. And because Anthony Joshua stands quite straight, I have a feeling, like with some of these other guys, we all know because styles make fights, and the styles that these guys adopt can also change the way that the fight looks, and particularly at heavyweight. And for me, I think Anthony Joshua is probably going to look fairly larger. I think he's probably going to weigh slightly more, and I think he's going to be taller, rangier. He's going to have everything, all the natural attributes in his favour, right? So Eric Molina's style Now, Eric Molina's style is fairly crude, right? He's a fairly crude guy. He's not a slick boxer. He doesn't have a lot of slick, stylish skills, okay? He fights a lot on the back foot. He likes to allow his opponents to basically walk him down and attack him, and he basically tries to defend. I use that word, he tries to defend, because it's not always a successful tactic, but he uses this quite a lot, particularly when he's fighting guys that are as big as him, right? He likes to, as I say, he likes to fight on the back foot. He likes to move from side to side, but that isn't always that effective. He's just basically turning his opponent around. He's not really getting away, and opponents can still kind of fairly easily close him down, right? When he attacks, he has a jab. It's not a brilliant jab, so he's unlikely to outbox an opponent. Now, what he does when he attacks is he attacks fairly wildly, and it can be swinging from the fences with left and rights. Sometimes they can be fairly inaccurate, okay, or inaccurate, right? He also kind of adopts sudden bursts of activity, where he just basically flies forward and swinging wildly. Sometimes this can be like a defensive maneuver, sometimes it is an offensive, and because he is unpredictable in this case, he can get some joy. We saw that against Deontay Wilder. Now, he also has confidence in his right hand. And I think because he isn't a slick boxer, he as I say, he fires wild punches. And I believe, right, that he has a lot of confidence in his right hand, despite the fact that he hasn't really knocked out many guys of note. He's 19 KOs, but we know that he hasn't been in the ring with a lot of top guys, right? But he has knocked guys out, and I think he believes that he can knock out anyone. Like most heavyweights should believe that they can knock out anyone. Okay, if you don't, you're in the wrong game, right? Now, Molina's got 3 fights of note. 3 fights of note, which we can kind of quickly run through. Now, the first one of note is against Arreola. Okay, now this fight was over very, very quickly, right? Before the end of the first round, Arreola got the stoppage victory. Now, what happened in this fight? Molina retracted backwards. He allowed Arreola to close him down. And whilst I've said that Molina, he likes to move around the ring on the back foot, side to side, not particularly in any direction. He likes to go left, likes to go right, whatever he feels is suitable at the time. But Arreola was able to close him down and get him right on the ropes in the corner. He landed a few punches. There was a bit of an exchange. But ultimately, Molina was stopped. Okay? It must have been a massively disappointing outcome for him. But he just didn't really... His movement was terrible in that fight. It was very brief, we know, and maybe, as I say, it seems to be a bit of a tactic where he lures in his opponent, tries to get them to expand some energy, and then his wild swinging attack comes out of nowhere, right? He just didn't get the opportunity really to do that, right? The second fight is against Wilder. Now, this was for Wilder's title. I think it was Wilder's first defence. I'm not quite sure how Molina kind of got into a contention for the world title then and now, but he got that shot, and realistically, he showed how tough he was, because Wilder put it on him, really, really put it on him. Landed a lot of devastating punches from all kinds of angles. Wilder was able to close him down, move, but he survived. Now, what I got from this fight was that realistically, Wilder probably could and should have stopped him in the first round as well. Okay, he should have stopped him. He had the opportunity, just wasn't able to detonate that. We know how good Wilder is at finishing. He's a very good finisher, right? But I don't know. Molina's it was something was giving him the opportunity that night because he survived a lot of there was a lot of times where Wilder really should have stopped him, and he managed to survive and keep going. So as I say, showed how tough he was. As I said to you before, because of his fairly unpredictable and these kind of bursts of offense kind of come out of nowhere, he was able to land some interesting shots on Wilder. One particularly fairly early in the fight, and Wilder, his legs went, but Molina was unable to finish him. Wasn't really able to kind of do much else. Wasn't able to kind of inflict any more damage on a shaky and wobbly Wilder, right? So that's somewhat interesting, right? Now the third fight of interest for Molina is against Tomasz Adamek, right? Now this is his latest fight. This is his latest fight. It's a win, and it's a stoppage victory. Stoppage victory that he got over Tomasz Adamek. Now, most people probably know who Tomasz Adamek is, right? Because he's been around for quite a while. Now, Tomasz Adamek is a two-weight world champion. Okay? Two-weight world champion, light heavyweight and cruiserweight. So he's come all the way up from light heavyweight to heavyweight. So he's quite, but he's still always, he's not a puffy guy. He's quite, I don't know, he's a smaller heavyweight, but he's, do you know what I mean? He's all right. Now he shared the ring with Vitali. Vitali battered him, but he's won quite a few heavyweight fights, but he's won them on points. He won them pretty much every heavyweight fight. He won on points, and to be honest, if you were a guy that got sparked by Adamek at heavyweight, feel for you, man. Because the fact that he came out from light heavyweight, realistically, the fact that he never really had sick power, you shouldn't be getting knocked out by Tomasz Adamek at heavyweight. But he did. I'm pretty sure he managed to knock out like one or two in like 16, 17 heavyweight fights he had. Now, this fight went to latter rounds, and Molina knocked him out. For me, this was a bit of a 50-50 fight. I think Molina had no respect for Adamek's power, which is what I've just kind of alluded to, because he doesn't really bring anything at heavyweight in terms of a power. But Adamek does have some boxing skills, decent movement, body and feet, and it was a tricky tricky fight for Molina. And realistically, if it had gone the full 12, Adamek could have won. But Molina managed to basically spark him out. So I think maybe there's some false confidence, because I think being able to beat Adamek, fairly decent boxer, and then knock him out, doesn't mean that you're going to be able to do the same to someone who is significantly larger in Anthony Joshua. Right, so let's just move on to the routes to victory. Now, the routes to victory for Molina is that he's going to have to show a lot of fantastic movement. Because to defeat Anthony Joshua, I think you need to show a lot of good movement, primarily because Anthony Joshua really needs to settle his feet down to detonate those shots, right? So if you can move in and out, box in and out, that's how you do it. Is Molina capable of doing that? Probably not, right? So he's going to have to survive. He's going to have to survive like he did against Deontay Wilder. And when he's kind of taking the punishment, or he's kind of on the back foot, he is really going to have to time Joshua's power shot and try and counter it. That's the only way, and he's going to have to counter it with these barrages that these bursts to try and close that show. That is the only way he's really going to do it. He's not going to be outboxed Joshua. Now, Anthony Joshua, how does he do it? He's going to have to stay at range. He's going to have to close him down, and he's going to have to attack and then close the show. It's fairly simple. Fairly simple from Joshua. Now, there's 3 questions that we can ask ourselves to try and really get to grips with what's going to happen here. Can Molina get close to Anthony Joshua? Now, we kind of spoke about that with Dominic Breazeale. Dominic Breazeale couldn't really get close to Joshua. He was out of range, but Joshua was in range. And maybe that is one of the skills of Anthony Joshua. That's something that he's got. Or maybe that is just purely a deficiency with Dominic Breazeale. Now, is Molina going to have that problem? He probably is, unless he throws himself at Anthony Joshua and puts himself in a position of basically getting sparked out fairly easily, right? Next question, can Molina KO Anthony Joshua? Like we said, Eric Molina believes that he can knock out Anthony Joshua. He believes that he can knock out anyone. He has a lot of faith in his right hand. Can he do it? We've seen Anthony Joshua wobble against Wyatt. It's possible. It's possible. So it's possible that it could happen, right? Can Eric Molina take Anthony Joshua's power? Now, we've seen Molina get knocked out by Wilder, and we've seen him get knocked out by Arreola. Okay, he's also been beaten by someone else. I can't actually remember who that was off the top of my noggin. Just quickly have a look. It was actually his debut. Christ. Yeah, so he lost his debut. And he was knocked out in the first round. Wow, that's one of those classic stories. But anyway, so can he take power? I would say probably not. So my prediction, right? My prediction for this fight, I'm going to go for... I don't usually go for these ones. Because I don't like doing it. But I'm going to say that this is going to be a 1-round stoppage. And it's not because I think that Eric Molina is terrible. It's not that I think he's worse than Breazeale or Charles Martin. I think probably they might have more skills. I think that Molina's a credible opponent for this point in Anthony Joshua's career. Because as we've said in previous previews of Anthony Joshua, he's fighting guys who he probably should be fighting. It's just the fact that he has a world title as well. He has a world title, so people are expecting him to be fighting top guys. But the fact is, 17 fight. His 17th fight. He is still learning. We're constantly talking about some of the problems that Anthony Joshua has with movement. His head is so stiff. Sometimes he can be ponderous and slow, despite the fact he can be devastatingly powerful and close the show. So putting that in mind, I just feel that I think that Molina is going to get on the back foot, and I think that Joshua is going to be able to close him down. And once he inflicts a couple of those punches, the referee's going to get a bit touchy, and everyone's going to get on edge, and then the massive wild combination is going to come in, and the referee is probably going to stop it. Probably be a referee stoppage fairly early on, right? So just quickly, the odds on this fight, right? I'm bringing up the odds again because this is quite amusing, right? Anthony Joshua is 1-50, right, to win, and Molina is 14-1. So that's a swing of 64. It's crazy. So the bookies have got no faith in Molina whatsoever. They think it's going to be completely one-sided. I think the odds are that it's going to be an early stoppage as well. But all the odds for every possible outcome are in favour of Anthony Joshua. Even going the full 12, it's very, very short, very short odds. So there you go. So that's what I think about Anthony Joshua, Eric Molina for the one of the World Heavyweight titles. So if you've liked this video, remember to give me some comments, give me a thumbs up, click on the subscribe to the channel, and look out for the new videos that I'm going to be posting in the next couple of weeks. I've been Teekosey. This has been With Just 15 Defeats.